Jai Om Vishnu Pajula Bhakti Pavan Janardhan Maharaj Ki Jai.
Bandeyam Shri Guru Shri Atha Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Sya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shivishakam Vidam Sya Om Jnana Timaranda Shagyana Jana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Gorva Bhistam Supurakam Gurganara Sisha Sambhushitam Chinja Samasta Veda Nibbanam Shri Rupa Patanugam Govinda Vidam Ujwalam Varatanum Bhaktyan Vidam Sundaram Bande Vishwagurun Shah Divyat Bhagavat Prem Noe Bija Pradam Devam Divyatanum Suchandavanam Balarka Chelanchitam Sandrananda Puram Sareka Varanam Vairagya Vidyam Buddhim Sri Siddhanta Nidhim Subhakti Lasitam Saraswatanam Baram Bandetam Shubhadam Mareka Sharanam Nyashishwara Shidaram Vanshakopatarubyasya Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavenibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahabharanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratavishe Namo. So we're hearing from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, the hidden treasure of the sweet absolute, with translation and commentary by Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj. This translation was made by Sripad Bhaktiananda Sagar, and let's see, from the original Bengali. Now we're on the 15th chapter, Bhagavad Gita. This is called Purushottama Yoga, the Supreme Person, text number 5. Nirmana moha jita sanga dosha adhyatma nitya vinivritta kama dvandvar vimukta sukadukha samgyar gachanti amudha param avyayam tat. Free from vanity and delusion, aloof to unholy association, dedicated to self-realization, desireless, liberated from the duality of joy and sorrow, undiluted, those surrendered souls reach the eternal goal. Free from vanity and delusion, aloof to unholy association, dedicated to self-realization, desireless, liberated from the duality of joy and sorrow, undiluted, those surrendered souls reach the eternal goal. So in the beginning of this chapter, we heard about the inverted tree, which represents the material world, with its roots growing above, branches below, and we could say growing in aversion to the Supreme Lord. The roots are connected with, of course, everything is coming from the Lord. Everything ultimately is as it says in the Brahma Samhita, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. The Lord is the cause of all causes. But here also we hear that after Krishna says to Arjuna, using the weapon of detachment to cut down that illusory tree of one's mundane existence, which is stubbornly rooted in aversion to the Supreme Lord, one attains to the plane of no return, which is the lotus feet of the Lord. With pure devotees, one should approach the holy feet of the Supreme Lord Vishnu for shelter and pray, I surrender unto the original person, the Supreme Lord of all, by whose illusory potency Maya, this perpetual tree of the material world, has appeared. Then from there, we're hearing this, the 5th verse, free from vanity and delusion, aloof to unholy association, dedicated to self-realization, desireless, liberated from the duality of joy and sorrow, undiluted, those surrendered souls reach the eternal goal. So they've gone beyond the identification with this material nature and utilizing the acts of detachment. They've cut down this false tree, which is basically that of material illusion. And now they have come to the point of becoming free from vanity and delusion, and they're no longer interested in non-devotional association. They're dedicated to self-realization, desireless, free from the duality of joy and sorrow, undiluted. Then such selfless, surrendered souls will come to the eternal goal. Na tad basayate suryo, na shashanko, na pavaka, yadgatva na nivartante, tadama paramam mama. The surrendered souls reach my eternal abode, never to return to this world. Neither sun, nor moon, nor fire. Nothing can illuminate that all-illuminating supreme abode. The surrendered souls reach my eternal abode, never to return to this world. Neither sun, nor moon, nor fire, nothing can illuminate the all-illuminating supreme abode. So that supreme abode is not dependent on any kind of illumination other than that nature of spirit. It's not dependent on the sun or the moon, nor fire, nor electricity, or anything like that to illuminate that supreme abode. It's self-luminous. And that is the nature of the supreme abode. That's the nature also of the living entity, the jiva soul. We heard one discussion where Srila Sridhar Maharaj said, one person argued, what evidence can you prove that the jiva soul exists? And Srila Sridhar Maharaj replied, because you don't have to search for this jiva soul. The jiva soul is showing itself by illuminating this entire body with consciousness. So you can see the presence of the jiva soul by its illuminating. And the supreme abode, that of supreme consciousness, is self-luminous. Nothing artificial, no dependence. Just like we also heard the story of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, of the man who had been imprisoned his whole life in a dungeon without any light, and then someone told him, "Come, I will show you the sun." So the man began searching, and his friend said, what are you searching for? Oh, a lantern or a torch. And the man said, no, it's not like that. You don't have to search for the sun with a lantern or a torch or a flashlight or anything like that. The sun will show itself. The sun will reveal itself. So that is the nature. That is the nature of divine spirit. That is self-luminous. And Mamai vamso jivaloke jivabhuta sanatana manashastanindriyani prakritistani karshati. Mamai vamso jivaloke jivabhuta sanatana manashastanindriyani prakritistani karshati. The soul is a particle, potency of mind. Although it is eternal for worldly existence, it adopts the 5 mundane senses and the mind, which is the 6th. The soul is a particle, potency of mind. Although it is eternal for worldly existence, it adopts the 5 mundane senses and the mind, which is the 6th. So, mamai vamso, the jivaloke. This is the nature of the jiva soul. Mamai vamso jivaloke jiva bhuta sanatana. So that soul is not disassociated with the Lord. Here the Lord says it's a particle. Srila Prabhupada used to use the word part and parcel. So the soul is part and parcel of the Lord, but it is a different energy. The Lord, his energy is Satchidananda, and so is the Jiva soul, we can say, in his true state of existence. But the difference is that the Lord is infinite and the Jiva soul is minute. So the Jiva soul, although being eternal and eternally conscious, because of its minute size, it can come under material illusion. But we must remember that the soul itself is one of the Lord's energy. Of course, we say that there is the internal energy or spiritual energy of the Lord, and then there's the Maya Shakti, the external energy. Now the soul is in the middle category, which is called Tatastha Shakti. Tatastha Shakti can go in the direction of transcendence or can identify with the material existence. So when the soul comes into material existence, then that soul becomes covered over and has difficulties. Mana shastan indriyani prakriti-stani karshati. Begins struggling with the mind and with the six senses, which include the mind, and prakriti-stani karshati. Then is engaged in a struggle for material existence, or struggle with material existence. Okay. Shariram yad apapnoti yadschapi udkramant. Shariram yad apapnoti yadschapi udkramat ishvara. Grihit vaitani samyati vayur gandan ivashayat. Shariram yada vapnoti yatschapi udkramatishvara grihit vaitani samyati vayur gandan ivashayat. The soul is the master of the body. When it departs the body, it goes to enter another, carrying these subtle senses as the wind carries fragrance from its source. The soul is the master of the body. When it departs the body, it goes to enter another, carrying these subtle senses as the wind carries fragrance from its source. So how can it carry subtle senses? How can it carry this subtle, meaning consciousness? How can it carry this consciousness and go to another material existence? Well, we've heard the example that, like a caterpillar is situated on one leaf, and when it goes to transfer itself from one leaf to another, it doesn't just abandon the one leaf. It has its feet on the leaf that it's leaving, and it has its front feet on the leaf that it's going on to. So it doesn't just go in the air, so to speak, and then switch to another leaf. Neither do we just leave this material body and then, but there is a subtle body that exists, and we've heard about manashastan indriyani prakriti-stani karshati, the mind and the senses, and then we have that subtle body consisting mind and senses, and ultimately ahankara, false ego. And we formed a particular consciousness by our activities and our desires in this particular life, and then that subtle existence is going to take us to another gross birth, and that will happen. So the soul is the master of the body, and when it departs the body, it goes to enter another, carrying these subtle senses of the mind and the senses, and that will take one to another birth. So that's all on the basis of one's consciousness. One has to be very aware of how consciousness is in fact determining one's future birth. Therefore, it's very important to utilize the human birth properly. Then Shrotram Chakshu Sparshanam Cha Rasanam Granam Evacha Adhishtaya Manaschayam Vishayan Upasevate. Presiding over the ear, eye, skin, touch, and nose, and also the mind, the living entity enjoys the sense objects of sound, form, touch, taste, and smell. So, presiding over the ear, eye, skin, tongue, and nose, and also the mind, the living entity enjoys the sense objects of sound, form, touch, taste, and smell. So when the material nature is formed, there is this correspondence or correlation to the senses which are occurring. From first there's, we can say, sky, which carries the quality of sound. And then there's the quality of air, which carries sound and touch. And then we have fire, which carries sound, touch, and form. Then we have water, which carries sound, form, touch, and taste. And then earth has sound, touch, form, taste, and smell. So that's within the elements of this material nature, and they correspond to the senses of the living entity, presiding over the ear, eye, skin, touch, and nose, and also the mind, the living entity, enjoys the sense objects of sound, form, touch, taste, and smell. And of course the material, as we're talking, the material nature is suited to enabling the living entity to try and lord it over the elements of this material nature. So that we always would hear some relationship given between that and, and especially in the Western or Christian tradition, there's a relationship, if we recall Milton's Paradise Lost. In Milton's Paradise Lost, there's the sentiment that it is better to not serve the Lord, not serve in heaven. It's better to rule over hell than to serve in heaven. That is, of course, the mood of we would say, the Satan is said to be his mood. But it's a rebellion. And we've heard in this, it's a little different refrain, the idea that some persons, the majority of persons will travel towards the light, toward consciousness, to the eternal abode. But then there are those persons who avert their vision of that, and they think, oh, this Mayic world is a place where I can enjoy. So they come here. And then presiding over the ear, eye, skin, touch, and nose, and also the mind, the living entity, enjoys the sense objects of sound, form, touch, taste, and smell. So it's all about enjoyment. Where can I enjoy independently of service to the Lord? Utkramantam stitam vapi bhunjanam va gunanvitam vimuda nanupashyanti pashyanti jnanachakshusha. Utkramantam stitam vapi bhunjanam va gunanvitam vimuda nanupashyanti pashyanti jnanachakshusha. Those who are thus deluded cannot see the soul when it is departing the body, residing in the body, or when enjoying through the sense of the body. Those with the eyes of wisdom can see. So those who are thus deluded cannot see the soul when it is departing the body, residing in the body, or when enjoying through the senses in the body. Those with the eyes of wisdom can see. And that is undoubtedly true, that one cannot see how the living entity is living in the body, how departing when the living entity is departing from the body or enjoying in this body. One cannot see that, but we do hear commonly that people will say when their dear one, husband or wife, for instance, has left or is dying, then when the person leaves, they say, he's gone. He's gone, or she's gone. She's left this body, he's left this body, they're gone. And Prabhupada used to say, why are you saying he's gone? There he is, the same body that you've known all your life. There it is, lying in front of you. Why you say he's gone? No, he's not there. He's gone, he's gone. So they can perceive that the living entity has left the body. Maybe not be aware of that during the whole time of life, but here it says those who actually have, those who are actually able to see, they can see through it says Jnana Chakshusha. Jnana Chakshusha means through the eyes of knowledge. Chakshusha is eyes, and Jnana. Pashanti, they can see through the eyes of knowledge. Whereas others, Vimuda Nanupashanti, those who are fools, Vimudatma, those who are actually deluded, those who are deluded, Nanupashanti, they can't see, even though it's there present before them their whole life. The person is the actual soul and within the body. And even in their own selves, they can't perceive that. Because vimuda nanupashanti, they're deluded. They can't see that. But pashanti jnana chakshusha. Utkramantam sitam vapi bhunjanam va gunanvita. Vimuda nanupashanti. Those who are foolish, they can't see, but pashanti jnana chakshusha. Those who have eyes of knowledge, they can see. So not everything is really perceptible through the senses, but we should be able to understand through knowledge which is acquired by hearing. By hearing, then we can perceive what is the truth. And this is very beautiful. This is Krishna speaking to Arjuna on the battlefield, and he's telling him, he's actually in this course of this short conversation of the Krishna is speaking to Arjuna, and he's speaking this in relatively short time, but because Arjuna is actually completely Krishna's friend and is completely self-realized, just hearing this he can understand. But the Lord has placed Arjuna into a state of illusion. In the beginning, he doesn't want to fight, he doesn't want to engage in battle against his relatives or his friends, but Krishna then explains the whole nature of devotion and how to be able to see things, how to be able to see reality through eyes of knowledge and through eyes of devotion. One who is a devotee, he can understand these topics. Those who are thus deluded cannot see the soul when it is departing the body, residing in the body, or when enjoying through the senses in the body. Those with the eyes of wisdom can see. Yatanto yoginas chainam pashyanti atmani avastitam yatantopi akritatmano nainam pashyanti achetasa yatanto yoginas chainam pashyanti atmani avastitam yatanto pi akritatmano nainam pashyanti achetasa. And the sincere seekers see the soul present within, but the persons of poor understanding and lacking in self-control cannot see the soul despite their endeavors. And the sincere seekers see the soul present within, but persons of poor understanding and lacking in self-control cannot see the soul despite their endeavors. So we see a whole different a whole different social structure today that's existing that was certainly different than what was existing when Arjuna and Krishna were present. And this whole society, nobody practically is looking within or trying to understand the difference between matter and spirit, the nature of the soul. These topics are practically unknown. There may be some persons who profess to be able to understand those topics, but they do in a formal way, maybe through some religious doctrines. They'll talk about salvation and things like that. But here we see that the actual nature of devotion it's not blind faith. We hear the term blind faith, but devotion has nothing really to do with blind faith. One is able to look within, one is able to serve the Lord, and one becomes illuminated by knowledge and realization. The spiritual master gives one knowledge, gives one service, gives one mercy. The association of the Vaishnavas help one in one's progressive realization. And also we see that the Shastra is giving one direction. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj indicated that actually the way Krishna is speaking in the Bhagavad Gita is practically speaking in a shameless way. He's telling Arjuna, Manmana bhava mad bhakto mad yaji mam namaskaru mame vaishyasi satyam te pratijani Manmana bhava mad bhakto mad yaji mam namaskaru mame vaishyasi satyam te pratijane priyosime. That Krishna is telling Arjuna, serve me, bow down before me, worship me. And Krishna is doing this because he has mercy, so much mercy on those who are surrendered souls, or those he has mercy on everyone, and he speaks shamelessly. He's not promoting himself, but this is being done without any pretension, just to be able to give mercy to the conditioned souls. And the sincere seekers here, yatanto yoginas chainam pashyanti atmani avastitam yatanto pi akritatmano nainam pashyanti achetasa. And the sincere seekers see the soul present within. But persons of poor understanding and lacking in self-control cannot see the soul. Despite their endeavors. 12. Yad aditya gatam tejo jagad basayate kilam yad chandramasi yad chagno tat tejo vidi mamakam. Yad aditya gatam tejo jagad basayate kilam yad chandramasi yad chagno Tattejo vidimamakam. The light of the sun that illuminates the entire universe, the light of the moon and the radiance of fire, know that to be mine. The light of the sun that illuminates the entire universe, the light of the moon and the radiance of fire, know that to be mine. So if we think that there is any truth or any understanding that exists without reference to the Supreme Lord, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the second canto, Krishna says, that is actually the action of my illusory energy, of my Maya energy. But actually everything emanates from me, and ultimately, as it's mentioned here, the light of the sun that illuminates the entire universe, the light of the moon, the radiance of fire, know that to be mine. It is all ultimately resting on Krishna's energies. Yad gam avishya chambutani darayami aham ojasa pushnami choshadi sarva, somo bhutva rasatmaka. Gamavishya cha bhutani darayami aham ojasa pushnami choshadi sarva somo bhutva rasatmaka. Entering the earth, I maintain all beings by my potency, and in the form of the life-giving moon, I nourish the crops. Entering the earth, I maintain all beings by my potency, and in the form of the life-giving moon, I nourish the crops. Yet some people think that this whole cosmic existence is all just an accident. It's all just happened by some random movement of atoms and particles, and everything is just gelled, just by chance interreaction, that if you're dealing with eternity, in the course of eternity, you'll create all the conditions that are favorable to life. But this is not actually, has nothing to do with science. That in itself, that is some false belief. That's false belief. The scientists will say religion is based on some kind of need for explanation. And yet what the scientists and what people will say has happened, that everything is occurring just by some cosmic accident, just like it was some kind of cosmic joke that everything is existing. But that's because, practically speaking, because without access to spiritual knowledge, one is just all the time in illusion and struggling with material existence. One has no explanation, no answers. So entering the earth, I maintain all beings by my potency, and in the form of the life-giving moon, I nourish the crops. Aham Vaishvanaro Bhutva Praninam Deham Ashrita Pranapana Samayukta Pachami Anam Shaturvidam Aham Vaishvanaro Bhutva Praninam Deham Ashrita Pranapana Samayukta Pachami Anam Chaturvidam. Entering into the bodies of the living beings as the power of digestion, I digest the 4 types of eatables, chewed, sucked, licked, and drunk, through the agency of the ascending and descending vital airs. Entering into the bodies of the living beings as the power of digestion, I digest the 4 types of eatables, chewed, sucked, licked, and drunk, through the agency of the ascending and descending vital airs. So all this balance that's happening within the body is also due to the presence of the Lord. Here he says, I am present in the bodies of the living entity as Vaishvanaro, as the power of digestion, or the fire of digestion. I'm present, and I digest what's placed in the body. Now, of course, when one gets old, that power of digestion may be diminished. But the Lord is there. He's giving one, basically the Lord is enabling one's existence. Even though one is present in this material world and is acting actually an aversion to the Lord, aversion to devotion, aversion to the mercy of the Lord, still the Lord is present and giving one power of digestion, through the agency of the ascending and descending vital airs. And there may be some practitioners of yoga who may be able to control those ascending and descending airs to prolong their existence. And here, Sarvasya chaham ridi sanivishto mata smritir jnanam apavanam cha vedaischa sarvairaham eva vedyo vedanta krid veda vedeva chaham sarvasya chaham ridi sanivishto mata smritir jnanam apavanam cha vedaischa sarvairaham eva vedyo vedanta krid veda vedeva chaham. I am situated as a supersoul within the heart of all souls, and from me arises the soul's remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness according to his actions. I alone am the sweet absolute to be known through all the Vedas. I am the revealer of the Vedanta, Veda Vyas, and I am the knower of the Vedas. So I am situated as a supersoul within the heart of all souls, and from me arises the soul's remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness according to one's actions. I alone am the sweet absolute to be known through all the Vedas. I'm the revealer of the Vedanta, Veda Vyas, and I'm the knower of the Vedas. So, yes, here the Lord is situated within He's present. Both Jivatma and Paramatma, they're both present there within the living entity, within the heart of the living entity. And it says here, from the Lord's presence, the soul, and from me arises the soul's remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness according to one's actions. Now, knowledge and soul's remembrance and knowledge, and some persons will say, well, what is the purpose of forgetfulness? And that is because, as Krishna says in another verse, he says, back when Krishna told Arjuna that he instructed Vivasvan, the sun god, and Vivasvan, the sun god, who instructed Manu, and instructed Ikshvaku. And then Arjuna said to Krishna, well, how can this be? Vivasvan is much older than you. And Krishna says, many, many births I have taken in you, Arjuna. I can remember all of them, but you cannot. So we might think that there are some situations that it is better to forget. All one's ignorance in so many lifetimes. Even sometimes people will try, the mind will act in such a way that to enable them to forget the most traumatic situations. Sometimes they will be placed in a state of forgetfulness of those as a protective measure. Anyway, due to the Lord's presence, one has remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness according to one's actions. Then Krishna says, I alone am the sweet absolute, because it's saying, Sarvasya chaham redi sanivishto mata smritir jnanam apavanam cha. From me comes knowledge, remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. Vedais cha sarvairham eva vedyo vedanta krid veda vedeva cham. Then he says, I'm the knower of the Vedas, I'm the revealer of the Vedas, and I'm the knower of the Vedas, and by the Vedas I'm all that is to be known. So the Lord comes also as the Veda Vyas, who's empowered Shakyavesh to be able to present the Vedas for the benefit of the living entities. Then Dvo imo purusho loke sharas chakshara evacha sharas arvani bhutani kutasto kshara uchate. In this world, there are two types of beings, the perishable and the imperishable. All beings from Lord Brahma down to the lowest stationary life forms are known as perishable, as they are fallen from their true nature. But those who are situated in their eternal spiritual nature are known as imperishable, eternal associates of the Lord. So in this world, there are two kinds of beings. the perishable and the imperishable. All beings from Lord Brahma down to the lowest stationary life forms are known as perishable, as they are fallen from their true nature, and they're in identification with a material body which is perishable, which will end. Lord Brahma perhaps living a long time, and they're small insects that don't even live for a whole day. 12
hours.
12 hours, there you have it. But that's for them. So for those persons, 1 hour means a lot. But those who are situated in their eternal spiritual nature are known as imperishable, eternal associates of the Lord. They have neither birth nor death. They're on the plane of spiritual reality, and they're in their nature as eternal servants of the Lord. Then we hear something about Uttama Purushastvanya Paramat Meti Udarita Yoloka Trayam Avishya Vibharti Avyaya Ishvara. Uttama Purushastvanya Paramat Meti Udarita Yoloka Trayam Avishya Vibharti Avyaya Ishvara. But completely distinct from both these types of beings is the Supreme Person, who is known as Paramatman, the Supersoul. He is the Supreme Lord. Entering the three worlds in his eternal form, he maintains all beings in the universe. But completely distinct from both these types of beings, the perishable and the imperishable, is the Supreme Lord, who is known as Paramatman, the Supersoul. He is the Supreme Lord. Entering the three worlds in his eternal form, he maintains all beings in the universe. So everyone ultimately is maintained, guided, assisted by the presence of the Supreme Lord. And that is a great source of, we could use the word solace for the living entities. We're never abandoned, but rather we are always maintained by the presence of the Lord. He's in every atom. Yasmat sharam atitoham aksharad apichotama atosmi loke vede cha pratita Purushottama yasmat sharam atitoham aksharad apichotama atosmi loke vede cha pratita Purushottama. Because I am transcendental to the perishable being, because I am transcendental to the perishable beings, and also superior to my imperishable eternal associates, my glories are sung in the world and in the scriptures as Purushottama, the Supreme Person. Because I am transcendental to the perishable beings, and also superior to my imperishable eternal associates, my glories are sung in the world and in the scriptures as Purushottama, the Supreme Lord. So the Lord, his glories are sung in this world and in the eternal scriptures, and he is who is accompanying the living entities as they wander in this material nature, and he is also the strength and maintenance of the imperishable eternal associates, the Lord's devotees. Yo mamevam asammudho janati purushottamam sasarvavid bhajati mam sarvabhavena bharata yo mam evam asammudho janati purushottamam sasarvavid bhajati mam sarvabhavena bharata. O Bharata, one who is free from delusion and knows me as the Supreme Person, of eternal, all-conscious, ecstatic form, is the perfect knower of full-fledged theism, and he worships me in all ways in the spiritual relationships of tranquility, servitorship, friendship, parenthood, and concerthood. O Bharata, one who is free from delusion and knows me as the Supreme Person of eternal, all-conscious, ecstatic form, is a perfect knower of full-fledged theism, and he worships me in all ways in the spiritual relationships of tranquility, servitorship, friendship, parenthood, and concerthood. So here we have this word, full-fledged theism. Full-fledged. Full-fledged is not a word that's so common in our normal conversations, but full-fledged refers to something that's fully developed, just like full-fledged. Fledged refers to like a bird, like a peacock, that has all its feathers and is fully developed. So when we speak of full-fledged theism, we'll talk about Krishna consciousness being that full-fledged theism. That is, the Vedas are teaching, we'll hear about Vedanti Tadva Vida Tattvam Yadzganamadvayam Brahmati Paramatmati Bhagavaniti Shabhyate. So the Veda, one who's understanding can know the Lord as the Brahmati, as the Brahman, undifferentiated impersonalism, the Brahman, effulgence we hear. And in the West, people think that that's the goal because that's all they can see. They can't see any higher than that because to them they have no actual understanding of spiritual knowledge. So they'll see everything as one, everything is like this, Brahman. But then we've been hearing in the previous verses about Paramatma realization, the Lord present along with the living entity in the hearts of all living entities, and maintaining those who are in the material existence, those who are in spiritual existence, the Lord giving that. But we hear full theism means Bhagavan iti shabhyate, understanding Krishna. And also, then how are they understanding Krishna? And here it's mentioned, he worships me in all ways. In his spiritual relationships of tranquility, that means shantaras, servitorship, dasharas, friendship, sakyaras, parenthood, vatsalyaras, and concerthood, madhurya ras. So all these different relationships exist, whether one is in the form of Vaikuntha worship or with awe, majesty, and reverence, or one is guided by the worship of Vrindavan worship, the worship of Radha Krishna, and with that which is given by Mahaprabhu and his associates, that is called Ragmarg. But the Lord is understood in these different rasas. The living entities exist in one of these 5 kinds of rasas. Either neutrality, Shantaras, sometime an example given is Prahlad Maharaj. He doesn't have an active service relationship with the Lord, but he is fully detached from material nature and from material existence, rather, I should say, and fully detached from material existence and completely attached to spiritual existence, completely worshiping the Supreme Lord. Then we have the relationship when one has an active serving relationship with the Lord, and then sakyaras, friendship. On the Vaikuntha level, it is said there are 2.5 relationships that we've heard about, that shantaras of neutrality, and dasharas of servitorship, and half of sakyaras, relationship with Krishna as a friend, but with respect. And then there's another half level of sakyaras, of relationship with Krishna, but without the formality of awe, reverence, majesty, respect, but just based on affection. Then comes vatsalyaras, maintaining a parental relationship with Krishna, and then madhurya ras, of loving relationship with Krishna, either as divine, we can say, the relationship of Parakiya Ras, or the formal relationship of marriage, which is Swakiya Ras. But all these different relationships exist when there is present full-fledged theism, meaning devotion. Understand devotion with full realization. Then Krishna concludes, Iti guyatamam shastram idam uktam mayanaga etad budva buddhiman shat krita krityascha bharata iti guyatamam shastram idam uktam mayanaga etad budva buddhiman shat krita krityascha bharata. O pure-hearted Arjuna, I have thus explained to you this most hidden treasure of all the scriptures. O Bharata, embracing this in their hearts, the persons of fine theistic intelligence attain the perfection of their endeavors. O pure-hearted Arjuna, I have thus explained to you this most hidden treasure of all the scriptures. O Bharata, embracing this in their hearts, the persons of fine theistic intelligence attain the perfection of their endeavors. And their perfection of endeavors means fully surrendered to the Lord in a relationship of devotion, understanding one's devotional relationship of service with the Lord. So, Iti Shri Mahabharate Shata Sahasriyam Samhitayam Vayasikyam Bhishma Parvani Srimad Bhagavad Gita Su Panishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Sri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Purushottama Yoga Nama Panchadashodhyaya. End of chapter 15. The Supreme Person, from the conversation of Sri Krishna and Arjuna in Srimad Bhagavad Gita Upanishad, the yoga scripture of transcendental knowledge, in Bhishma Parva of Sri Mahabharata, the holy scripture revealed by Srila Vyasadeva in 100,000 verses. End of chapter 15, which is the Supreme Person, Purushottama Yoga. Hariharaya Namah Krishna Jadavaya Namah. Hariharaya Namah Krishna Jadavaya Namah. Jadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namah. Jadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namah. Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan. Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan. Giridhari Gopinatha Marana Mohan. Giridhari Gopinatha Marana Mohan. Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra. Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra. Garadhara Shiva Sari Gora Bhakta Vrinda. Garadhara Shiva Sari Gora Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Rupa Sanatam Bhatta Raguna. Jai Rupa Sanatam Bhatta Raguna. Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Rasa Raguna. Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Rasa Raguna. H.I. Gosai Kori Charana Bandhan. H.I. Gosai Kori Charana Bandhan. Jayate Vignana Shabishta Puran. Jayate Vignana Shabishta Puran. H.I. Gosai Jarmui Taradas. H.I. Gosai Jarmui Taradas. Tasabar Pada Renu Mora Panchagras. Tasabar Pada Renu Mora Panchagras. Kader Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanibas. Harir Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanivas Janame Janame More Abhilas Janame Janame More Abhilas Echai Gosai Jabe Braje Koilabas Echai Gosai Jabe Braje Koilabas Radha Krishna Nitya Leela Korila Prakash Radha Krishna Nitya Leela Korila Prakash Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Majayaman Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Majayaman Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyan Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyan Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Naratamudas Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Naratamudas Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nitai Gora Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Nitai Gora Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Nitai Gora Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Nitai Gora Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Jai Saparikara Shishi Guru Guranga Gandharvika Giridhari Ju Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajakacharya Ashtatara Sarashi Srimad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajakacharya Ashtatara Sarashi Srimad Srila Bhakti Rakshidhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai Namachari Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Das Raghunath Shad Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai Premsi Go Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudeva Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Srila Jai Om Vishnupad Vishvavarenya Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Nirmal Acharya Maharaj Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Acharya Brinda Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Brinda Ki Jai. Shri Navadip Dham Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Ki Jai. Saparshada Shri Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai. Saparshada Shri Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. Shri Koladvip Ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki Jai. Sokel Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Sevashram Ki Jai. Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Tulasi Madharani Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Goa Gopi Govardhan. Sham Kunda Radha Kunda Kalindi Yamuna Ju Ki Jai. Shri Purushottama Dham Ki Jai. Baladev Subhadra Jagannath Ju Ki Jai. Bhakti Vigna Vinashaya Shri Nrsingadev Ki Jai. Bhakta Prabhara Shri Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. All the assembled devotees Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo.
Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Pavan Janardhan Maharaj Ki Jai.